That's right, folks. It's another late night and time for another reach into the Just Giggle grab bag. And tonight we're pulling out not another episode of Watching You, but something unique. We're pulling out, oh my God, what's this? It's a movie, not just any movie. It's Joshua Thomas's long lost first movie, A Race Away. What do you know? How you doing, Tiki?
Oh man, I'm this got to me, buddy.
Yeah, so my God, folks, I got to tell you, this of course is a apparently Joshua Thomas's birthday. He celebrated his birthday by kind of sharing this kind of full length first effort with us, through the Just Giggle It channel. This is before Just Giggle It really came into existence. This is kind of the first kind of filmmaking effort of Joshua Thomas. It's a very personal story for him, and of course, it kind of brings about very personal reactions. Very universally kind of understood story in many respects, but it's a doozy, and it's very interesting to say the least. It kind of makes me think that it makes me wonder if Joshua Thomas has like kind of like a prince vault of like unreleased projects that we don't know about, just waiting to unleash upon us. It's kind of the, like Prince has like that. The Prince, God bless him, he had that secret vault of like 50 like fully produced music videos and movies and documentaries and stuff that the world will never see until the bombs come down. It's the end of the world. It's yeah.
All right, so just to get into thesis statements, folks, you're gonna notice that I'm not my usual peppy self, and that's because this movie really it did a number on me. And this is actually like I love this movie. I genuinely do. I think this movie is. I mean, for a feature film debut from an amateur filmmaker, I gotta say, with a little bit more refinement, this same script and basic concept and set of characters, it could make a really, really damn good, fully produced movie. But as it stands now, folks, I don't want to get into the gory details of it, but let's just say I've been unlucky in love. My last real girlfriend was about 9 long years ago, and those 9 years in between and not being able to find anyone else, that's been painful. It's kind of one of those things where it's like every day I wake up and I'm just like what's wrong with me? Am I broken? You know what I mean? And unfortunately, folks, there is an event that happened in my life about a year ago that really struck a nerve with me in terms of this movie, which was essentially I started dating a girl over the summer, and I took things too serious too fast. I did the classic mistake, the rookie move of saying I love you too soon. It was about 2 months into the relationship. And folks, this girl, she never talked to me again after that. I saw her that day. I knew that she was genuinely kind of like that. The I love you didn't land well, but after that, I never heard from her. Like she completely ghosted me out of her life after 2 months. And I gotta say, personally, again, I know I'm turning this into a therapy session. I'm sorry, but personally, that whole experience has made me very jaded in the past year. It's frankly made me kind of bitter about the idea of love and the word love to begin with. So, Dragon, I'm a sad, broken man who hasn't fallen in love in like 10 years. And now I'm watching this movie and it just kind of brought the feels all over again, folks. And I don't know, Joshua Thomas, if you're watching this, I know you're not a counselor, but it seems like you've gone through some stuff. If you have any like consoling words for me on the situation I'm currently in, I'd love to hear from you because, as far as I'm concerned, you're basically becoming one of my YouTube mentors at this point. So, by all means, if you have any helpful, like worldly advice to pass along to me on that issue, I know I'm going a little too deep into this, but what can I say? This film made me feel things. It really did, Dragon. It really just, at the end of the day, it just brought about like all the highest highs and the lowest of lows of being in a relationship, and did so in a creative, funny, high concept kind of way that's told in a non-linear fashion. And I was just blown away by this, Dragon. I think this is just absolutely the cutting stones of Just Piglet. This is like it's almost creepy how much this lays the road for what they'd come before.
Yeah, as much as we talk of Just Giggle, it's just they're slowly kind of entering that Pixar effect of just they have your number. Where again it's like we do the previous week of the grab bag. You were talking about watching you episode 4, Daddy, and yeah, that's a very heartfelt, really a heart wrenching episode. It's like, oh my God, it's
Okay, I will say this much, like just for the personal situation that I am in, going on 10 years without a relationship and having that crushing little, fleeting hope of a relationship last year, as much as watching you got to me, this got to me even more. And I don't put that lightly. So, folks, we've just been in like a 2 week roller coaster ride of emotion from Joshua Thomas. That skeever, that conniver him.
yes.
I don't know. Is it
Uh,
odd to say that Just Giggle is kind of becoming the Pixar of YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like a more frequent Pixar in a way. It's like imagine you get like a Pixar short every, like a whole like whole giant playlist of videos of Pixar shorts. I mean, even more than the 20 plus that they have now, if you count kind of the within the universe kind of films. The point is, by the way, on an unrelated note, because Tiki was kind of mentioning it, if anyone's curious, Joshua Thomas, he's going to grace YouTube and kind of the followers of Just Giggle with a live show about Erase Away, about his film. It's been getting some traction, it's been getting some attention. He's going to answer some questions, give some more context. So by all means, if you don't see any comments with the video itself, folks, because unfortunately there's a chance it might not be up forever, which is why we're kind of covering this. And we're not kind of um, we're covering it, but folks, just full disclosure: when we go through this, we're not going through it beat by beat. We're going through it kind of in a kind of a general, kind of roundabout way, like
Kind of taking it in a conversational direction here, Dragon.
kind of a free flow conversation route.
Taking the podcast in a non-linear format.
Because folks, last time we did a movie beat by beat. That was like with X-Men: Days of Future Past and Guardians of the Galaxy. It was like 3 hour. Those are 3 hour videos. So I don't think.
Oh my God, I forgot that we actually tried to do that.
Essentially, that's what, like, folks, to our credit, though, that was like when those came out. So, I mean, we were so enamored with those movies.
So it's like we couldn't even what I'm saying is that we couldn't even take notes beforehand. Like this was beat by memory.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess before we get into plugs, before we get into like the big kind of meat and potatoes, the backstory, then we'll just kind of start things. I guess I'll get into my thesis. My thesis is kind of meaty here, so I'm just gonna kind of lay it out here. All right, folks. So here's my thoughts on this film on the whole. So this film, to me, is a very interesting time capsule piece for Joshua Thomas and Just Giggle as a whole, but what specifically, Joshua Thomas as a filmmaker. It shows how he and kind of the process of Just Giggle it has grown creatively. And interestingly, on a rewatch, I've learned some interesting things about this movie, and I had like a whole second, I had an entirely different second viewing of the thing, which really surprised me. But just on the whole, even with both of those movies, because of this, I'm not sure how to take or read this movie in places. I'm not sure, and I think let me just say this on the whole as we get into it. I just want to make this statement very clear at the top of things here. I think we owe it to Joshua Thomas and Just Giggle to be absolutely fair and just we're going to tell it as it is. I respect Joshua Thomas and I respect all the great videos all the great work that Just Giggle has put out. That we gotta give him like the full we gotta give him like the red carpet treatment. I'll say we're not going to kiss up to him. We're not going to if some things are a little off. We're going to come out on it. And if they're not, because by all means, Just Giggle, they're like the gold standard of sketch comedy on YouTube. I'm just saying we're gonna, these guys they can stand the scrutiny, and we'd be doing them a disservice if we just did a puff piece about this film. So I just want to make that clear.
You're absolutely right about that, Dragon. And as an amateur film, I mean, there's certainly a lot of flaws to it. And I'm not. That's why I was saying, it's not really a great film off the offset, like as it's presented right now. I'm just saying with the same concept, characters, and maybe a slight reworking of the script and a reshoot, this if they remade this movie, Dragon, I'm saying a remake of this movie could potentially be one of my favorite movies legitimately and not just in concept.
Oh, certainly, because here's where I'm at on it right now, is that it seems to be one of two things. It seems to be either an intentional satire of romantic films. Of like it's like you can definitely see a lot of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. There's touches of Memento. There's just a lot of like reference to romantic comedies in places. You know, I'm not saying like haha comedies. I'm just saying like the relationship drama that you have in a romantic comedy. It kind of gets the ball rolling, stuff like that. So, I mean, but there are kind of comedic touches, of course, sprinkled throughout. So it's kind of like an amalgamation of those romance movies. It's kind of made in the spirit of that, and it feels like kind of a basically, if the goal is to make a film unflaggingly accurate to those films, it's on the money, but not my taste. If it's like going 100% for that, and by that logic, it's kind of done too well. It's not my kind of movie, but it's done really well. If not, if it's just supposed to be taken as kind of the usual Just Giggle, like the thing we come to expect now with Just Giggle, where there's like that's the kind of the signature Just Giggle subversion, or kind of that non-conformism, like we're gonna kind of do it better than it's been done before, that sort of thing we've seen with Just Giggle in their writing style. I have issues with this. If I'm taking this at face value, if I'm just going like my first viewing on this, if I'm just going at it like how I was responding to just taking it as a film I was watching, I have major issues with it. Uh, but by the same token, I respect the heck out of this movie. I want to make that clear. Even though I had a lot of major issues with this, I do respect the thing as a whole. It's an ambitious first film. It's well directed. And the thing I really want to highlight above all else, to be quite frank, the editing is fantastic on
Oh
this
my
movie.
god, yeah, it
That's
really
my
is.
favorite. That's my favorite touch in the movie as a whole. I
Like
love
the
the
editing, it
editing.
just jumps between timelines so fluently, and you never really feel lost.
Yeah, I mean the non-linear thing, especially there's this one sequence I just think is really it's well shot. It's just so well edited, and of course our ending is really big and great with that too. So the editing is like that's the gold
The
standard we
Christopher
still get.
Nolan ending of Just Giggle It.
In some respects, yes, it is
And
very kind
I
of
was looking in the comments, Dragon, and a lot of the comments on Erase Away were like, "Oh no, I need to see make a part two. I need to see what happens next."
the top's still spinning.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
So Joshua Thomas himself has he's jokingly I think it's like kind of a self-deprecating jokingly thing, but I don't know if he might have some merit behind this. He's interestingly he has made the self-comparison of this, like he hopes it won't be his room, like is the room, like Tommy Wiseau's room.
I mean, I think Joshua Thomas is just a much more competent individual than Tommy Wiseau, and for that reason, this movie is just much more coherent than The Room. So no, it's not The Room by any
Sure.
stretch.
However, by the same logic that is working with his own self-analogy there is kind of a disaster artist in context here with some of the background I'm gonna lay out for you here, is that there is some disaster artist meta contextual stuff, especially on a rewatch. There is a lot of meta contextual stuff in the inception of this story. It's what I'm getting at is it's a film. I feel this is I'm wrapping up. I know it's lengthy here, folks, but it's a lot that I really got to lay out here before we really get into it here. So just trust me, it's worth it. It's a film. It strikes me overall as a film made from the heart versus the head, which is what we get with the sketches with Just Giggle and the other. Joshua Thomas's later work, I think, is made from the head, where this film is entirely made from the heart, and I think it shows. And I think that's why the sketches are so like concisely just brilliant on every level. And this is shot and made from a really it's that guy putting his heart on screen. It shows, and it's something to really celebrate. But by the same token, it ain't perfect. So, it shows. I just as a time capsule piece, it shows how much better Joshua Thomas has gotten, and he kind of built in kind of a mulligan for himself on this. By the way, it's a real hilarious comment I saw him like when he posted this whole he put in like a parentheses. I'm going to quote this throughout the thing here. It's kind of like it's kind of the whole Pixar. Like, yeah, we don't care. It's that sort of thing. It's it says I was young. You just put that with an exclamation point. So basically, if we have like to kind of give him a mulligan on certain things here, of like, yeah, there's like so it does by no means measures up to what we love about Just Giggle It now or the works in his later career. It's like he was young. The boy was young. He was feeling his oats. So that's how I'm feeling on the whole. That's my thesis for the movie. It's my extended thesis for the movie.
Dragon, I think it's safe to say that I probably was, just for circumstantial reasons, I probably emotionally took this movie more than you did.
But I think that's the intent. I think it's really. I think it's coming from an emotional place, striking people in an emotional place before it's striking them in a logical place.
Sure. So I guess since I'm like, I'm in that kind of point where it's like it's been 1 year since the I love you incident, so I really am feeling it, Dragon. I've been feeling it this past summer. So this movie did kind of come along at a time in my life where I am feeling very, very vulnerable in this kind of situation. So I guess that's kind of maybe a distinction to make between Dragon's opinion of the movie and my opinion of the movie.
Right. So I guess should I get into the really interesting backstory for the
Yeah, go
movie?
for it.
All right, so okay, so folks, Race Away, it's Joshua Thomas's first project from 2010. So that means, in the history of what we've been covering, on the Just Giggle Grab Bag, this is before watching you. This is before Just Giggle it as a channel and watching it. From my understanding, I could be wrong about a few details here. I'm going to lay out my theory. I really want the folks at Just Giggle to correct me on this because this is what I'm kind of taking. This is what I'm piecing together from all the stuff I can find on the channel so far of like what the kind of the origin behind Just Giggle and watching you and the whole shebang is that this is during the San Antonio years of Joshua Thomas because he starts off in San Antonio, then eventually makes his way to L.A. Therefore, Harley Quinn and Joker versus the real world, which we'll plug momentarily, by the way. So I presume this is during the San Antonio years, which I believe means that's where Frozen Fire Productions. I believe that predates Just Giggle It, which Frozen Fire Productions is Joshua Thomas's San Antonio based kind of filmmaking years. That gets us this, and that gets us watching all of that under the Frozen Fire Productions banner, which you can find that and some other videos relating to watching you on the Frozen Fire Productions YouTube channel as well as Just Giggle It. So this is before Joshua Thomas had gotten in the comedy, and this is he done improv classes, but of course in LA he did the kind of the famed improv classes that gets him to meet like guys like Alex Poncio and Piper Henson and Yuka, and basically the formation of Just Go. So my bullet points here is that okay, I think he does some improv classes in San Antonio, Texas. I think he meets Poncio in San Antonio, Texas. I'm not entirely sure because Watching You has Poncio, which is shot in San Antonio, Texas, from my understanding.
Right.
Ipso facto, Poncio from Texas and comes with him to LA. It's just my logic of that. I could be wrong on that, by all means. Then, of course, to go to LA, do some improv classes there, meet Hinson Yuka. Therefore, Just Giggle It is formed. So that's my chronology of the history of Joshua Thomas. So speaking of the history of Joshua Thomas,
For that inevitable Joshua Thomas biopic we're going to pitch.
and we do have casting for that, by the way. I want to make that clear.
We're not joking about that.
We're not, folks. I'm not going to reveal who's what yet, but I'm just saying we do have we cast the main three roles already.
Eventually, a pitch of a Joshua Thomas Piper Henson biopic will be an episode of the Just Giggle It Grab Bag, folks. I'm just warning you.
Eventually. So, as I said before, so this is a very personal passion project for Joshua Thomas from the start, and he kind of he informed me of this recently. Very gracious for that, by the way. Because again, this kind of gave me another kind of with another viewing, this kind of changed my tune on a few things. This story reflects Joshua Thomas that the story of this, of course, is very much a breakup. Is based on a breakup from Joshua Thomas's youth. Roughly around age 19, Joshua Thomas, he suffered a breakup, which essentially, it was a breakup that was hard on him. That eventually kind of.
Yeah, enough. Age 19 was the last girlfriend I had. Go figure.
Trippy. So, so the point is this breakup from his youth, after kind of like processing that, it was a hard one. According to him, it was definitely kind of knocked the wind out of his sails. Eventually, that tragedy turned him to comedy. He went into comedy, and that's kind of where we are here and now. So again, thanks to that breakup, we have Just Giggle It. Mm-hmm. In the end, all balanced out, kind of like a Thanos snap. It all balances. So here's why we're getting this now, and here's why we may not have this forever. So apparently, Erase Away, and here's where I allude to my personal stuff with Joshua Thomas is that Josh Thomas had major hard drive issues in uploading and producing the film itself. They had all the audio and the footage, all the film footage and all the audio that corresponded with the footage on a computer that kind of broke down on them. So I expressed my deep sincerest sympathies to him, and just how you can have a production issue like that when you're trying to make a movie. My sympathies entirely. I don't want to get into it. Just the point is, man earns my sympathies. So this essentially, the reason it's kind of the unrated cut, and again, I was really scratching my head because there's really nothing unrated to me about this, but I think he's looking for a better term, but he just settled on Ray, like he meant like director's cut or something. I have my own nickname for what this cut should be, but basically this is the last surviving cut, therefore kind of the unrated cut. So again, maybe there was an intention to do more with this, but he just physically couldn't. So that's interesting. And I would call this the Moses cut, as in this is like the last surviving, cut of the movie. It's like the one that made it. This is the one that made it to the promised land. It was the one that made it through the basket. This is the one that, so I call this the Moses cut of Raceway. So, if we ever go back to this and revisit and kind of maybe make those changes, or I don't know, if he ever goes back to the drawing board on this, who knows? Maybe it's like a Snyder Cut Ultimate Edition. I don't know. So, briefly, Anna was recast. Again, there's kind of a trend of recasting in Just Giggle. Not recasting in a bad method. Every time they've recast, there's always been kind of, if not a trade up, then an equally great, just kind of picking up the baton and continuing the same quality of good work. So Anna, our main gang, the whole film hinges on Anna. If we don't buy Anna, movie goes, just capsize. The movie capsizes as a whole if Anna doesn't work in this movie. So she was recast because the actress basically had the wrong person in the role and just things weren't clicking. It was kind of like an Eric Stoltz from Back to the Future thing. Good actor, but, just not right for the role.
Oh.
So, yeah, and again, Joshua Thomas cites this one specifically as, I was young. So there was a lot of difficulty with that, but then of course they made the proper adjustment. They got Anna in the role, like everything clicked. This was uploaded on the man's birthday, July 6th. Happy belated birthday, Joshua Thomas. Thank you for uploading this. And eventually, from what I understand, this will be uploaded to a more permanent home in the future if it just for some reason is taken off YouTube. Like I would imagine, maybe try the Just Giggle website. I don't know. Just the point is, folks, look out for this. If it goes away, it might be going away for a reason, or for like kind of a treasury edition, or it might go to those famed Joshua Thomas vaults to be released again. The Tiki, plug us away. Plug away, man.
Yeah, sure, folks. If you like quality filmmaking, and if you want to see kind of what the stepping stones that A Race Away led to, go ahead and check out Harley Quinn and Harley Quinn and the Joker versus the Real World. That's right, folks. It's a 5-part web series regarding everyone's favorite crime couple, the Joker and Harley Quinn, as Joshua Thomas reestablishes the two characters in a bold and unique way that still maintains both the menace and the humor of their identities in a real-world Los Angeles setting. It's crazy, it's fun, it's got all kinds of wacky plot twists, and it's got genuinely good, heartfelt writing in it. It's genuinely like one of the most unique takes on superheroes I've seen in a web series. So check that out. I'll put the link in the description after we get done with this. Importantly, episode 5 is the one that we need to get to 1 million views if we want more episodes. There's
Episode
already
5
in the cans. There's already storyboards. They're willing to go. They're just waiting for that 1 million views.
Folks, episode 5 is everything. You have to watch episode 5, please. We get it up to 1 million, we get more episodes, and these episodes, just in like the 1-page pitch of these episodes, they sound amazing. We gotta see those happen, folks. I know it's within you, folks. I know you have the power. Just like you write your congressman, get those views up, man. You get them up to 1 million. If we get up to 1 million, more episodes galore. It'll be wonderful. All your dreams will come true. It'll be great.
Roll around in the dirt with me.
All your dreams will come true. Sorry, Better Call Saul reference, folks. We do have merit for Better Call Saul within this little discussion. We'll get there when we get there. So, that said, I guess again, folks, kind of free flow conversation, but we'll cover a whole myriad of things from the movie. By all means, we're going to try to make it as in depth as we can.
Yeah, where do you want to start, Dragon? I got to admit, I'm kind of intimidated by this free flow thing, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, let's see. So I guess the initial pitch of the movie is, and the tagline of the movie, more accurately, is, what if you went to sleep and woke up months later, which is quite horrifying, I must admit. Like, you wake up months later and you learn that you lost essentially 8 months of your life. Pretty trippy. So let's see. Let's highlight our cast real quick. Let's just kind of get like fire through and just kind of highlight kind of our cast members here. Of course, we have Joshua Thomas in our lead role as Joey Taylor. By the way, Taylor, I suspect down the line that's where we get Taylor for watching you.
Perhaps, perhaps.
Little theory there, a little kind of head canon. I don't know.
Joshua Thomas has really, really good moments in the movie, but at the same time, his performance isn't perfect to say the least, and I think he knows it.
Sure, he does have some
He
standout bits. Though I will
does.
say, I think the strongest part of the movie on a whole is the first 13 minutes. I think are the strongest, or some of the strongest stuff in the entire movie. I really do.
Well, the first 13 minutes is like a relationship version of married life. It's like relationship life.
Essentially, yes, and that really sold me. And there's a lot in this movie that sells me, and a lot that I think kind of hurts our progress. And we'll get into that after we kind of like quickly kind of highlight our kind of some flaws better cast here. So we got Anna, kind of the linchpin. She's played by Laura Evans, kind of the savior of kind of the whole project to an extent. It all hinges on this girl and this relationship, and I think it all comes together. What do you think?
I think she does a fantastic job, and honestly, I think she's probably the most consistent person in the whole cast.
Yes, I think honestly, here's the ones who I think stole the movie. I think Anna and I think Crystal. Anna and Crystal, I think, really stole the movie, and I thought they were the MVPs in the movie. I really do.
Well, and then we also have to get to another character that's probably a fan favorite.
True. Well, let's talk about Noah real quick.
Yeah, no, I like Noah. Acting wise, I don't think he had any like major real standouts. A lot of his lines was literally exposition, like just googling stuff. But I like the supportive best friend angle. I don't know. He's kind of like a an archetype for these types of movies, but I think he works well.
I think archetype is the perfect word. He feels like again with the whole romantic kind of movie. Again, if you take the movie, it's just kind of like an homage or satire to the romance movies. It kind of feels like kind of Jason Alexander and Shallow Hal trying to figure out what's going on. You know, he's just trying to
But
like,
that's a perfect analogy.
it's like him going to like, what's happening here? What did you do to my friend? Why is he seeing Gwyneth Paltrow? You know, why is he seeing Gwyneth Paltrow and she doesn't look like that at all?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Draggy, because I know that Anna's brother shows up. Like Noah is Anna's brother, right?
No. Noah is Joey's friend. He's like kind of the ladies' man friend that he went running with at the top, and he was like, hey, "You gotta be my wingman, bro."
Oh yeah, right, okay. And so Anna's brother does make like a brief cameo, and I thought he was pleasant.
Here's the thing: Anna's brother, he had like a one scene cameo, and Anna's brother is actually a familiar Just Giggle. He's the only other Just Giggle player in this whole thing.
Oh really? Huh.
At least the one that's on screen. If someone was snuck into the background, I wouldn't have noticed because I don't know. There's this one character who looks vaguely like Jamie Cox, but I can't. It's hard to tell if it's her or not on the couch. But the point is, Kerry Farlow the fourth. That's Anna's brother. So Kerry Farlow the fourth. He's in a bunch of Just Giggle sketches. The one that always kind of sticks in my mind. He was Ryan Gosling's college roommate in the
Oh my
Ryan
god,
Gosling funeral.
yeah.
It's like I was I was Ryan's roommate. I was Ryan's best friend. You know that whole thing. So of course, I mentioned Crystal to me is a huge standout. I think we do something. Here's how I describe Crystal.
He's a really interesting character.
I really love Crystal. I think they make a misstep with Crystal, but Crystal's played by Cat Steffens, if I'm saying that right. Maybe it's pronounced Stevens, but it's spelled Steffens. Anyway, I think I'd refer to as seductively sympathetic. That's how she kind of reads to me. She is quite seductively sympathetic. I want to be sympathetic towards her. But then, of course, we have a turn. But up until that point, I'm like, oh my god, she kind of in the bad role, but it's like she's even in the role of the villainess. But by the same token, it's like I'm interested in this character. She got so much charisma on screen here, and she's selling me on this other relationship, and therefore interesting conflict. And we'll break the conflict itself down. Of course, we have Robert Anthony as Zach.
Yep.
And, yeah.
I like this guy. I like that he kind of subverts the jock stereotype a little bit, and he's also a little bit more relatable than the common love rival in a movie like this.
Maybe a little, but I don't know. I think we'll break down some stuff with Zach. He does have kind of I get a little seed of where we get later on, like Harley Quinn, the Joker versus the real world with a character like Frank. We get kind of the broy machismo of a guy that, of course, later on will translate to the character of Frank in Harley Quinn and Joker. I thought we got pieces of that here.
Here's the thing, though. I think, like, yeah, he is broy and machismo, and he does pull a dick move, but I think he's at least slightly more likable, at least on a superficial level.
Maybe, maybe. So I
Like,
guess we
he's
should talk about.
basically like Frank if Frank was pretending to have good social skills.
He's definitely a more developed version of Frank. I'll give you that. He's a more. There's an attempt at a more. Well, bear in mind this was before the Frank himself. So when I say it's an attempt at a, sorry, let me rephrase. Yes, he is. He's a Frank with more depth. He's like if Frank, had basically if Frank did not spoilers did not die. If Frank were around and we kind of developed him, like I know that actor Corey, he's always he's always begging the like, come on, like Back to the Future, can't we go back in time and save him somehow? I don't know, can't we do him like a Force Ghost? Can't we do him like I don't know, like Chris? I don't know.
I
Like,
suggested a Force Ghost, and I actually suggested the Force Ghost, and then the Joker would be like, Harley, what the fuck is that? That's not how the Force works.
right? So should we talk about should we talk about Doctor Scene Stealer himself?
Oh my god, yes, yes. This guy is, I believe, like, reading through the comments and everything, probably the definitive fan favorite of the movie.
We have Dr. Milo. Long form of it is Dr. Milovich von Petersburg, and he's played by Rob Barron and Tiki. Should we? So I've told you what struck me about Mr. Barron here.
I mean, go ahead, but just explain who these people are first. Like,
All
don't
right,
just like, drop the names.
all right, folks. If anyone knows Better Call Saul, the prequel to Breaking Bad that's kind of sweeping the nation, coming back for season 4. Tiki and I were huge fans of it. We love there's a character on that show that we go nuts for. We love this actor. We love this character. Patrick Fabian is an actor on this show, and he plays this very great, enigmatic, yet prissy and wonderful character named Howard Hamlin. He's basically, he's a corporate businessman, but he's kind of sold to us as the bad guy, but he has like a lot of these great layers that make him very interesting, make again enigmatic. It's like, oh man, I got to know more about Howard Hamlin. And we love this character and Patrick Fabian. So we always name drop Patrick Fabian and Howard Hamlin, and we make fun of his love of tea. And like in the show, he has like his own version of the color blue. It's called Hamlin to go blue. So it's delightful. The point is, we love this character. We name drop him all the time. So if anyone's wondering, who's this Howard Hamlin guy? And that's who it is. And so Howard Hamlin, we noticed, and I noticed, I told Tiki about this to hype him for the movie. Baron here, he looks like a young version of it's like if you did like the Ant-Man thing of like if we did kind of the Marvel Lola technology, we did like kind of the youth technology on Patrick Fabian, the actor's like kind of like roughly in his 50s. If you did that to that actor, you'd get this guy because Rob Barron looks like kind of the best way I can put it. He's Howard Hamlin's unrefined doctor brother. That's the best way of putting it. He looks like Howard Hamlin, but without the sophistication. He's not in good shape, and he's just kind of this. He presents himself like a fancy doctor, but of course we find he's quite the opposite. So it's delightful. So it kind of amused me to know when like, oh my god, he looks just like a young Howard Hamlin, but he's so unrefined. Okay.
All right.
All right, so I guess breaking down some actual things from the movie aside from the characters. All right, so the opening. So the opening sold again, kind of the married life of it all. So it sold me on the relationship as a great montage. It's a very relatable meeting between Joey and
the music choice is a little bit sappy and dated.
I'll give you that.
Like kind of reminded me of one of my favorite bad movies, which is Dancing. It's On.
I'm sorry, is it Dancing It's On or is it Dancing It's On?
It's Dancing It's On. No, Dragon, if it was Dancing It's On, it wouldn't be as epic, but it's Dancing.
this is
It's
gonna
on.
this is gonna sound ridiculous, and you're just gonna roll your eyes at this. But when you say dancing, it's on. I'm thinking like a ridiculous meme or like a short video with Ted Danson doing something like a Ted
Oh my
Danson.
god.
I'm thinking of like Ted Danson doing Footloose or something. That's what I'm.
Okay, well, let's just, this movie is far better than Dancing It's On, although I will say Dancing It's On is one of my personal favorite bad movies. But Dancing It's On does have a very, very cheesy, very dated, kind of syrupy romantic comedy soundtrack to it. And yeah, I will admit that this opening 15 minutes, Dragon, I will say the opening 15 minutes didn't strike a chord with you as much as it did me, simply because of that Dancing It's On comparison. And I know that's not fair to the movie, but it's just like I just kept feeling like, well, this is just dancing it's on, but it's not as fun.
Well, I think there's one song choice in the movie, and by the way, that's another. I would imagine that
I think
might be
as the
another.
movie goes on, our song choices get better and better, honestly.
Sure, sure. And by the way, just with the song choices themselves, that might be a reason the movie might not be on YouTube forever. There might be some.
Naturally.
I think that's why that'd be
Actually, to tell
another.
you the truth, with the song choices, I'm kind of surprised that it lasted as long as it did.
Yeah, I mean, it's still well at the time that we were recording this, it is still up, and again, hopefully, it'll be able to be found somewhere even after this recording. So just the point is like on YouTube and the unrated
Uh-huh.
form, the unrated. Anyway, there's one song I really love, and we'll get there, but yeah, I really here's I was really sold on Joey as a character in how he met Anna because like the way he approached her and honestly I think this is like the smartest writing in the whole thing is in that first like 13 to 15 minutes where he's where he goes up to her and says yes I know I'm just he basically it feels like kind of the writing that we're used to on Just Giggle It where Joshua Thomas is basically laying it out as like yes hello this is kind of awkward I know we usually be nice if we have like a mutual acquaintance that can abridge this interaction like all of that to me I thought it was super brilliant. I got to tell you well I related to this character because yeah, that's how I do it. Yep, that's yep. I'd acknowledge you. That's sadly that would be me in his shoes and approaching a beautiful woman. Yes, that would. So I that's when I started to get this character. Like, yep, okay, I'm interested in this Joey character right now. From the beginning, they kind of so this first 15 minutes, I'm sold 8 ways a Sunday on the movie. Those first 15 minutes, and we have like these cute guys like Froyo, and again they're going around, and we see like the age old fear of like, okay, well, the girl's in a committed relationship, and now like Joey's like, hey, now I'm in a committed relationship. I'm scaring off the other guys and bringing Froyo and smoothies and drinks. Yes, I'm the boyfriend. Hooray! It's all going like it's all going great for him. And let's see, so and everything's looking very promising. It's a really good lead in. So that's things like really it's really selling me on the movie. And of course, we end on that great kind of dramatic note. And again, if you know just based on that premise, okay, this guy's going to lose his memory and everything's going gangbusters for him. And of course, if something doesn't go wrong, then we have no movie. So something has to go wrong. So he goes to bed one night, and the guy's like, "Oh boy!" The minute he goes to bed, that's when the movie gets started, and it does. And then I run into some premise issues.
Okay, okay. Um, huh. That's interesting, Dragon, because I kind of had the opposite effect. I actually kind of got more and more into this movie as it went along. And I sort of like the fact that the erase away thing was kind of a slow build to the answer. And even by the end, we don't really get a concrete answer. But I like the ambiguity of it. And I think with the erase away and the premise that they're pulling off, I'm sure you can point out some flaws in it, Dragon, but for me, I at least like the fact that it was ambitious and that they were trying to weave an interesting mystery throughout the whole runtime of the film. And that to me, Dragon, was the Just Giggle It quality, where it's like it's a romantic comedy plus this kind of like high concept mystery at the same point.
Sure, and again, I want to believe me, folks. Again, I don't want to be like come off as I'm coming down on this movie. I want to highlight like, our great stuff here, and of course, just kind of our time capsule quality here. Where again, elements like this is what we have through kind of a serialized method in watching you. We have kind of the extended mystery build and kind of our pilot for our kind of our elongated pilot of watching you, and that it's we're building to a mystery and playing with the non-linear thing. You don't get that there if you don't try it out here. So again, it's all relative, folks. It's all very important getting that stuff in. I do respect getting that, but I do like basically. Here's the thing: there's a moment. The big turn is when I really have issues with the movie. This is like I'm starting to like have a whiff of uh-oh in the air when he wakes up here. But it's like there's just this big, the big reveal in the movies where I'm really like, okay, now we have some major problems there, and we'll get there. But here's what's starting to bug me, and this is where I'm starting to realize. And again, it's nothing. It doesn't hurt the movie, but it's when I start to realize that okay, this is Joshua Thomas before those Just Giggle years. This is before basically again a lot of it's he was young. This is like a lot of the boy was young at this time. It's his first go around, so we can't judge him too harshly. I want to make that clear. Is that he? I get that the character of Joey, and not in storytelling, not every character is perfect or smart. I get that, and not every because if every character was like that, it'd be boring. But like, how many times does this guy have to be told?
Okay, yeah, Dragon. Let's just get into it. That's like the biggest flaw I have with the whole movie is, my God, this movie repeats itself.
And here's the thing. Now, this is what I'm getting at is that Just Giggle again, what we're used to, and now there is very possibly just, and I think it's something interesting. I love to see Joshua Thomas attempt another movie in the future. I really would. I want to make that clear. I want to see what he'd do with it now, as the storyteller that he is now, because we're used to him doing things in short, sketches and serialized storytelling, and he's fantastic at that. That's great, kind of doing things in kind of the shorter serialized method. And I wonder, with all of that, I wonder how we'd approach doing another full movie again. Because, yeah, Merritt's like the first time he's on a full-length narrative. And I don't know if this is maybe because it's his first rodeo and doing just kind of a full-length story, and he's kind of spinning his wheels at times. He's, okay, well, we have to just kind of make sure people get the plot. I don't know if he's overcompensating in that area.
I think that's it, Dragon. I think that's it. I feel like you can see the self-confidence, not the self-confidence, the lack of confidence in delivering a high concept like this. You know what I mean? You can kind of see him using exposition as training wheels, a certain scene, if I can use that terminology.
Sure. And the other thing too is that, again, Just Giggle, we're so used to them like subverting this sort of thing, but again, it's his first go around, so he's not subverting it because he's doing it. That's the difference. And I think it's like, okay, so he's we like years later, like he'd be smarter not to repeat the same information time after time. Like we'd say it once, or like we do like a clever twist on, and then we just move on. That's kind of what we're used to with Just Giggle. But again, folks, you got to give him. He was young. It's the first time, so he wouldn't be there yet. So yeah, it's like imagine you're measuring Spielberg to, hey, it's the guy who made Oscar. Hey, it's Oscar Schindler. It's the guy who did Schindler's List. When he's doing Sugarland Express, maybe. I don't know if that's.
Hey, make something as riveting as Schindler's List.
I guess here's the best example. Okay, not Sugarland Express. Maybe, the guy who made Schindler's List is the same guy who did Duel. It's kind of hard to
movie that no one's even heard of.
Yeah, it was Jaws on land, but no one saw it. It's kind of hard to connect those dots. It's just that's all I'm saying. But yes, he's kind of doing. And again, now if he's, if we're giving the benefit of the doubt here, if he's really thinking here, if he's really just trying to. I've seen millions of romantic movies. That again, the reason like a lot of those romantic movies kind of aren't my bag. I'm not saying like I'm against romantic movies. I'm all for like kind of a pleasant movie. I'm all for like pleasant romances and stuff. In movies.
500 Days of Summer.
I keep meaning to, but I haven't.
I think you'd really enjoy it.
I'm sure I'd enjoy it. I like Mark Webb's work. I love Gifted. Mark Webb did Gifted. I love that movie. But yeah, I mean, I'm not against like a romantic comedy or just like kind of a movie about relationships. I'm not against that. Just like I will acknowledge that basically this movie feels very tropey and in celebration of those tropes. I don't know if it's in celebration or just Joshua Thomas falling into the trap of tropes. It could be one of the.
What's interesting though, Dragon, is I feel like it's both kind of like it's celebrating the Happy Madison, like Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore, like 50 First Dates of it all, like
yeah.
Kind of like ridiculous, like high concept romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same point, I'm surprised it's taken us this long to bring up this movie. But you got to admit, there's got to be some Eternal Sunshine influence in it.
Well, Tiki, I mentioned that at the very top of of my thesis, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't touch it.
No, but you're right though. I mean, that's the thing. There's
I
a
mean,
lot of
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if there wasn't an Eternal Sunshine influence on this movie.
there's got to be, and again, I think that's the big. I think you can tell, like, you can sense a young filmmaker pulling from a couple movies here on this, and that's not a bad thing. It's just it's notable here. It's like it doesn't feel as kind of.
I mean, I've got to admit, it's certainly not as good as Eternal Sunshine by any stretch. But Dragon, I do think it's a bit more palatable than Eternal Sunshine, and I think that's what he was kind of going for.
I don't think you're wrong in that.
Like Eternal Sunshine for a broader market and not just the art house crowd.
That's the thing, because you got to remember, folks. One, even if it's kind of like if you have any Eternal Sunshine kind of snobs out there of like, hey, Eternal Sunshine, it's like, how dare you try to replicate the beauty of Eternal Sunshine, the spotless
Yeah,
mind.
frankly, I think Eternal Sunshine, it's a beautiful movie, but it's not even in my top 20 favorite movies.
I have the Legion effect with Eternal Sunshine, where again it looks great, but I can't quite follow it. And
yeah, I hear you.
that's what I'm saying. My point is that even if it falls on its face, and again, it's for an audience to decide. Even if it does fall on its face in trying to replicate that, you got to give him points for he tried to replicate that. That's an impossible movie to replicate.
I mean, for me, my romantic movie, Dragon, that I'll always hold dear is Adam Sandler's Punch Drunk Love. You need to check that out if you want to see a captivating Adam Sandler performance.
Right.
But anyways.
Okay, let's see. So again, on the whole, so again, some issues and premise here is kind of what we're hitting with kind of bits like this here. So basically with this stuff, so again, like we're falling into the tropes here, falling into kind of the traps of tropes here, where he's repeating the same information over and over again. Basically, it's this when one character tells you this, and you wake up, you have all these. I like smartly when he wakes up, he has like, wow, all these pictures around him. He's kind of piecing things together. That's all great visual direction. I love that. And then he has it spelled out to him in exposition after exposition by characters saying, "Hey, you broke up with her." It's like, wait, what? I have no memory of this, and it has to be told by three other characters. This before he's starting like, I guess it's true.
I think that's a big problem of the structure is that it's just kind of like this rinse repeat scenario. It's just like, all right, we get it. Like, guy goes to some person, like, tell me it's not true. It is true. No, it can't be. I wouldn't do that. And I got to admit, Dragon, I got to admit, I'm sorry, Joshua Thomas. You know I love you as a creator, as an artist, as an actor, but Dragon, there's certain moments, especially when Joey's trying to confront the whole like he cheated on Anna thing. It really wears thin for me. It's just like, but I would never cheat on Anna. I no.
And which part of you don't remember don't you get?
but I know myself. that was probably the most tedious part of the whole movie for me.
I'm completely simpatico with you on that, and I think in doing stuff like that, the issue, and again, it's kind of the fruits of a young, ambitious filmmaker here. Of you have like a thread that is exposed with that, and you keep pulling on that thread when you do stuff like that, which gets us to like these logic holes of they bring it up at some point, like. Why don't you go to a doctor? Because again, the guy wakes up with amnesia. Logically, you should go to a doctor. If you're missing time, you want to find out, oh my God, do I have memory issues? And he goes to the girl before he goes to the doctor. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, I mean, to tell you the truth, I understand him going to the girl first because, like, given the circumstance, think about it. It's like you go to sleep with the love of your life in your arms, and then you freaking wake up and this is happening. And I don't know, if it were me, I'd go to the girl.
That's fair, but again, I think that might be stemming
the
from
emotional reaction and not the logical reaction. But let's face it, Dragon, we human beings run on emotion.
Sure. But I mean, after he's told, then like I got to go to the girl's house. All right. Let's see. I feel again, just in the real thing in connection that before we get on to some of the really great stuff. I think we get, unfortunately, and this is something that we always praise just Giggle for not doing, especially with like watching you. We've avoided going melodramatic in places, but here throughout this movie, in like moments like the whole "I would never cheat on her," we get melodramatic in a lot of places, which feels like, honestly, and again, this is going to sound really hard.
Like Joshua Thomas, like the word I describe is not a word I'd ever want to use to describe a Joshua Thomas performance, but he gets very whiny.
Like, well, here's what I would you say he's kind? No, I was going to compare him to somebody, but it'd be too cruel if I compared him. Another kind of romantic whiner.
What, me?
No, not you. That's
I'm making a self-deprecating joke.
Star Wars, so people connect the dots where that goes. But
Oh God. Oh no, no, no. It's not that
yeah,
bad.
that's what I'm saying. So he's not talking about beaches or anything. He's not talking about land.
I
He's not
hate
talking.
sand, Anna.
Okay, no, but seriously, here's what I'm going to
Coarse
say.
and rough and irritating. And it gets everywhere.
Okay, but seriously, so in regards to the kind of the creative choice of this, I'm trying not. I don't want to have this come across as harsh because it's now we never do this sort of thing. But again, just a lot of this feels like the just on the whole lot of these gripes I'm bringing up, these feel like kind of amateur mistakes of a youthful filmmaker. Amateur, not in the negative sense. Amateur, like it's first timer doing this, so it's a completely natural thing to do for your first
Uh,
time making a movie like this. And again, I can't condemn the man. Again, I've never tried to do something like what he's doing here. So
the closest I've come to making a movie is making a quote unquote, an improvised quote unquote found footage movie at a Six Flags park that was shot over a day and edited together into an 80-minute nightmare that I'll never release online.
again, I've never gone about something as ambitious as this. I mean, like in doing like you find
I mean,
again
I
doing
will
kind of
never go about something as because that's the thing. Like with the movie I actually made, it was like there weren't any set like scripts or audio or makeup or anything like that. It was just like film us at Six Flags improvising a story, and we'll make a movie about that.
we're not the authority on like what constitutes like a good self-made filmmaker or anything. We're just speaking as just like kind of lovers of film and just guys who've seen a lot of fan films. So that's all. And not just fan films, but seen kind of like works of film, and even like we've judged the professionals now and again. We've seen it done like like the makers of such things as borrowed time, for example. Like we've been around the block, but we have no means have made the amazing pieces that we talk about. So let's see. So here's some really clever stuff. We've been a little dour on the movie just in premise. But let's talk about some really great stuff. So the bar scene. Love the bar scene. Yes, I love the yes, I love the bar scene. How we flash back to kind of fill our our lost time. I love how we're doing that. We're bridging the gap there again, playing with the non-linear storytelling. So again, like in the way we tell this story, I really do like the way in which we tell this story. I love the music choice. The way you look tonight, that was perfect, especially if you have a character who's kind of going through like a memory loss thing. It was the perfect sequence. I love how it's staged, and of course it has great story significance. I'll admit, I think basically the point at which Zach and Noah enter the picture in this scene. I love just kind of this very simple scene between Joey and Crystal talking. That's great, and that's selling me again. There's chemistry there, and there's intrigue that feels very natural. But then when our guys come in, then we're starting to force some elements into play here. It's like we have good chemistry, and then we're kind of spelling some things out in dialogue of like, oh, hey, there's Zach. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Like all that stuff. Like we said, okay, so there's Zach. Good for him. He's there. Okay, we established that's how this new mysterious character knows our guy, and then we establish, oh yeah, if I tell you because we know that he's dating Anna. It just feels like we're kind of like we're forcing some lines on a flow chart there. Okay, and that's how Zach knows Anna.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
You couldn't hear me before, though, right? Because I was literally going like la 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 la. You can't hear me. And you la 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 la.
No, I'm sorry, Jay. I could not hear you for that part. No.
All right.
I would have picked up on la 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 la.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I was trying to be obnoxiously loud just to make sure you weren't just ignoring me.
No, I swear I would never do that.
All right.
But I'm talking about the bar scene, some of the good stuff. What do you got?
Well, sorry. What I like about the bar scene is how we play it from different angles and different perspectives, and it kind of works its way throughout the narrative in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost kind of like the catalyst that keeps getting brought up. It's almost like, dare I say, Hitchcockian. It's like, okay, we have this one incident, we have this one night at the bar, and how are we going to explain it? And it's it's almost kind of like the different sides of the same story.
Yes, because again, it does we go back to the scene for a reason. You know, it's a pivotal scene. Yet again, it's just a simple setup. And again, I love that we there's enough gravitas behind it. Basically, it's kind of a bait and switch of okay, so we had a really memorable meeting between Joey and Anna, which of course is the whole crux, like why he's trying to win the girl back. And we have an equally interesting yet different meeting between Joey and Crystal, and we keep coming back to this. And you'd imagine, okay, it's because there's like a real connection here, and of course, there's a bait and switch of okay, it's because something important happens in this scene, a little more than that. So again, it's kind of significant for a whole other kind of whole other slew of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So here's now let me talk about this, Steve. So there's some missed potential here. I think we set some really great things into play with Chris. I want to talk about all the great stuff I love about Crystal here. So
Okay.
Crystal, the big sell for me in this movie, the big thing I wanted more of that I thought God put into play, and again, I was on the hook despite the whole like again, I was just giving the whole tropes like okay, they're tropes, you know, we're gonna take them as they come. Like it's nothing that kills the movie by any stretch. It's like noticeable. Again, it's like it's Joshua Thomas doing his job too well. Like oh man, he really captured all the tropes. He did everything there. But here's the stuff that I wanted. This is kind of the just giggle it stuff that I'm used to now. This is kind of the next level stuff that we love these guys for. That we love, you know, Joshua Thomas for. Is that we put these interesting ideas in play because they were making me really like Kristen. I was like, okay, this girl just seems to be in kind of this really complicated situation, and she's not like the other woman, even though she is very technically, she is very literally the other woman, but she's not all bad. And we put these really great, interesting. These to me are more interesting premises than where we eventually go with the whole if you wake up and you lose 8 months of your own time. Like I don't like where we go with that. Kind of disappoints me. Again, we start that off. It's interesting. Again, we have the non-linear storytelling. That's all great, but we have kind of an unsatisfactory payoff. But we have these really interesting seeds. These really interesting bigger questions that are introduced through Crystal of you know, if I cheated with you, how am I a good guy? How do you love me? How am I a good guy? And also Anna, an earlier scene, the parking garage scene, you know, she kind of you know, basically like she smartly is like saying, "Well, look, I'm sorry you're losing your memory here, but you know maybe it's just." Essentially, she says, "Maybe it's justice. You know, you did some bad to me. Maybe it's karma. Maybe it's justice." Those were the two interesting questions that really kept me on the hook. Tiki. Those were like, yeah, what if they sold me on this complicated you know this the complex reality of this situation because I like Crystal and I want to see where this is going to go. I want to see where they're going to take this story. Like how grown up are we going to be about this story? Like can we live within like complicated realities and kind of find kind of like can I still root for this character despite a guy who's kind of compromised his own happiness? Like all really interesting balls we're putting in the play here.
But then, unfortunately, I feel like as the movie goes on, and you'll probably agree with me,
Yeah.
It's a juggling act, and they kind of drop one or two balls along the way.
Yes. So I here's the thing. I guess getting into that a little here. Real quick, let's talk about some fun stuff before we get all dour.
Okay.
Again. So of course we have some fun. Another fun song choice, by the way. Of course, completely before they use this in the movie, we use "X Gonna Give It to You" when we have our big reveal, and with "X Gonna Give It to You," of course, I'm thinking of Deadpool. Of course, roughly 6 years before Deadpool, so that's just kind of a good call. I do like that Uncle Buck was used by Zach to win Anna over. I do like that Uncle Buck still kind of charms the ladies. That's nice.
There are a couple other song choices that I liked, but I can't think of them off the top of my head.
I guess just talking about some of our Dr. Milo stuff. Tiki? How do you feel about Peaches?
I will admit, like when they first introduce him, I was definitely sold on him. The commercial. The rest of the movie with him, I think it's all fun. I just kind of think it's a little bit separated from the rest of the narrative.
I love the irony. I love the great irony of Dr. Milo here, where the idea that he got rich off of people, they don't say this, but this is my own headcanon for this. I really like to think this is intentional. This is a guy who probably got rich or mildly rich. I say mildly because, again, not a lot of people would go for this, sure, but the people who would go for the race-away drug, or he probably got kind of semi-rich, or at least semi kind of regularly rich, off of people who saw Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and then they got the idea, oh yeah, so it works like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Yeah, sure. That's what I'd like to think of. That's how he's getting all his business, really. I think at the end of the day, it's people who want to replicate what they saw there. And thematically, what I liked about Dr. Milo is that's like logically what I love about in concept, but thematically, I like the idea, and we in the post credit scene, we kind of addressed this, and I really like that. But even without this, love the irony of this. That this is a guy who we see him as a guy who treats relationships so cavalierly, so in such a cavalier manner, where he's trying to find the right word here. He's if not a chauvinist, then he's definitely kind of a ladies' man who kind of discards the ladies. He's very much kind of a kind of like, I guess, kind of an unrefined playboy, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
All the women come to Howard Hamlin because he's such a good golf player, but no one comes to Dr. Milo because he has the Taylor's wood to come to him. But anyway, no, seriously. But yeah, I like that. It's an irony for that character, an oxymoron that he keeps. He treats relationships so cavalierly, yet he erases relationships. He's in the relationship business. He just like treats it like so, like, yeah.
Yeah, my whole thing is like Noah visiting the party house and everything like that. It's fun. It's just disconnected. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like a weird little detour from the rest of the movie.
Yeah. So the Peaches stuff, and again, my initial read on it was like, why is this unrated? The Peaches stuff doesn't really seem as racy as it should be if it is truly unrated. Again, I'm not trying to be a prude here. I'm not saying it needs to be edgier. I'm just saying if it said unrated, I was thinking, okay, I guess we're going to see some stuff that's kind of unrated here. But no, it's just unrated probably because it's just like it's like an unfinished cut, I guess. Right. It's like kind of like or something like that. I do wonder this though. Hopefully they could answer this. I don't think it is this, but I wonder if Peaches is a real deep cut Anthony Weiner reference. I'd love it if that were the case. I'd be really impressed if that was a deep cut Anthony Weiner reference. But I'm saying I don't think that came to light until like after the documentary that came out. So that was like years later. So I mean, that was unless they're really up to date on their on their controversial sexting politics. I don't think they're going to be. I don't know. It's like circa 2010 versus I think that movie came out like 2016 or 2017. So I don't know. The point is, so the Peaches stuff was just kind of like, well, I mean it's there. Right. Let's see here. So I guess we should talk about the reveal itself then.
Yeah, so the reveal is that Crystal drugged Joey with the erase away. What a twist!
I don't know what Joshua Thomas's problems are with girls named Crystal.
I know. I kind of noticed that, Dragon.
I don't want to just connect dots here, but a part of me wonders if maybe that was the girl's name in real life. I don't know, but I think I don't know if he's like thinking of legalities and like maybe like he can't. I don't know if he changed the name smartly to avoid that, but then again, I mean legalities for his first film out the gate. I don't know.
For me personally, I don't want to throw shade at anyone named Crystal, but I've always thought it was like an easy like stripper. Like if you need to adapt a stripper name, that's a go-to one.
Yeah, but to be fair though, again, Crystal, I was crestfallen about Crystal because here's where I was at with the Tiki. So when we had the big bar scene, because the way it was staged, I loved it. I want to give Josh Thomas credit here that it's such an obvious reveal you discarded from your head, because that's what I had here. Where I was saying the framing is okay, so he wakes up with that memory, therefore you logically think, okay, someone drugged his drink, so he forgot stuff. But logic deterred me from that because I was under the impression of, okay, no, they're not going to, it's an obvious move. I mean, come on, they're not going to do that. It could either be Crystal or it could be Zach. And even if it's one of the two, I'm thinking Zach. And so again, it was kind of like a dual red herring, but unfortunately it wasn't as smart as I had hoped to give it credit for. It was like, okay, well, it was a drugging thing after all. And here's why. I was let down by this. The conspiracy, making it a conspiracy really took the wind out of my sails on the movie. Really did. I think a lot of it falls flat because it kills the gutsy premise that we were putting into play. Okay, you wake up and you have to accept the realities of something you did when you were in a state that was not you at your full faculties. Like that's an interesting premise to me. Like living within that reality and kind of seeing like, are you a good person despite having made a mistake like that?
Sure.
Like all of that. That to me, I was hoping they were going to go that way with it. But again, it just seemed like it was all a conspiracy. And here's the problem with that, folks. It's not just the fact that, okay, it's a conspiracy and made my dear sweet Crystal the bad guy. That's not what bugs me about it. What bugs me about it more so is the fact that, we went the less interesting route. Now it's the mustache twirly route of like, now we make our guy implicitly the good guy. Like, okay, he was wrong the whole time. We kind of take some intrigue out of our character there.
Yeah, I agree because I feel like what the bar scene initially represented is that like Joey is almost too charming of a guy, and sometimes he can't help but sweep women off their feet even when he's not trying to.
Because he was charming in that bar scene.
But then it just kind of comes down to like, oh wait, never mind. He was just drugged, and yeah, he was charming, but like, he's like the perfect guy who's always going to be loyal. And you're right, Dragon. It does kind of take some bite out of the whole narrative.
And Zach's a character who we barely. Don't mind, they did set him up. I keep saying they, and I keep. Sorry, folks, because it's on Just Giggle right now. I keep just going for the collective of Just Giggle. Though again, this film mainly rests on the shoulders of Joshua Thomas. So if I say they, I mean him. Just in case, just for semantical sake, it's just kind of occurring to me now. But the point is, I know that Zach, he was set up in that, like he's your friend and everything. And then we see him again. I was mentioning, well, I think you calibrating things. Zach was like, hey, you're my, we're friends, right? Oh boy, if I had a girl like that, again, we're kind of spelling things out. Just Zach doesn't feel set up properly or well enough. Like, honestly, I think look, I don't want to rewrite the movie in itself here. I just want to say an idea that occurs to me, and maybe a way of simplifying the matter would be imagine if Zach was if Zach was the Noah character. If you melded those two guys together, if you made the friend, basically you might make that character a little bit more interesting. You might make him, okay, he's the friend, yet now he's the lover. I don't know. Maybe that might be kind of.
To me, I think the only problem with that is that you need Noah to kind of go on that quest for Dr. Milo, and you need the erase away reveal, and I don't really think Zach would have been willing to do that. So I can see why Zach exists. I can.
Sure.
Dragon, honestly, what I like about Zach's character is I like the realistic fallout of Joey's actions, where Noah's willing to stick by Joey's side, but Zach's not. Honestly, that's something that I've genuinely seen happen with people in my life, and it's hard when it happens, but sometimes people just kind of make up their minds and write people off after certain things, and I like that we showcase that with Zach.
Now, Tiki, that is absolutely true, and you're right about that, and that is clever. But unfortunately, with this reveal, we completely throw all of that out.
No, you're right, and that's my problem with the reveal. Yeah.
And again, the other thing with Zach too is I don't believe he's clever enough to. I mean, here's the thing. I think if there's a moral here, there is a moral of there's a really good PSA that they do showcase here. Like guard your drinks. If you go drinking, you go to a bar. Never leave your drink unattended, especially if you're chatting.
Okay, honestly, Dragon. As soon as Joey went up to go to the bathroom, I was like, oh, something's happening with that drink.
Exactly. So there's a very welcome PSA there. So I don't want to fault it for that, but by the same, and it's a real thing that happens, and you should never underestimate anybody who does that. So by the same token, I really don't think Zach's. Here's the thing, I buy that this character that he could do this, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that we have this whole strangers on a train kind of pact made between Zach and between Crystal. That's the thing I'm having trouble.
I hear you.
I'm trouble buying this whole
thing. Step too far. I feel like the good way to go with it would have been to like Crystal was just the one that drugs Zoe, and then the Zach thing the Zach thing kind of happened by circumstance. You know what I mean?
Right. I think you just accidentally shipped Zach and Joey. By the way, Zoe.
You know what, Dragon? It's a free time. They're both attractive men. I'd be down for that.
All right.
I'm just saying, with all the Poe and Finn fans out there.
I forget what the name for that one is.
Anyways.
In? I don't know. Anyway, so yes, and also here's something. So again, aside from stuff, we already went through kind of some logic issues with that. Also, here's another gripe that I do have, like the whole like after the reveal is made, after Joey has connected all the dots, and they realize, okay, uh, he confronts Crystal, and then he's going to confront Zach. One thing, real quick, when he confronts Crystal, I do love, and I'd love to think this is intentional. We do have Godfather oranges in the scene to indicate that it's an intense scene. I don't know if you noticed that she has like a bag of
I
oranges. I
did
mean,
notice it. Yeah,
like
yeah.
it might just be like a regular occurrence down in San Antonio. I don't know, but by the same token, I mean, come on, if the film buff and Joshua Thomas is just the thematicism of oranges, please. I don't know, but I gotta tell you though, this might sound real petty. The fighting was lame, and when the way we built like the fight on the front lawn.
Oh yeah, I mean, it honestly, I kind of just resort that to like amateur filmmaking, honestly.
I mean, look, here's the thing. I mean, it doesn't bother me that they have like a fight on the front lawn because we had that earlier, and we set this. And we kind of foolishly set this guy up as like an MMA fighter who's just like he's kind of a stupid MMA fighter. He's like,
Right.
and again, like the guy we call literally in the movie, Noah calls him out like you're really not that good at it. He just beat you up before I showed up here, and so I mean, like, one that kind of takes the stakes out of this fight right now because I think Joe is going to win regardless. And secondly, it's like, okay, so the guy's kind of an idiot then. And again, how do I buy that he's going to be able to kind of do this whole double indemnity or strangers on a train pact with? This point, it's just it keeps kind of devolving itself. And here's the thing. Here's why I think it's like, hey, folks. I don't want to be mean by saying lame, but here's the thing. That always bugs me, but it really bugs me here the way it's shot. The charging at your opponent thing, it's stupid. And again, it doesn't need to be like an intelligent fighter. I'm just saying, at the very least, like don't run towards the guy and get into like this weird kind of broy kind of headlock. Like oh, I'm clinging on to this guy. Like, I know you can cling on to somebody in a fight, but like don't charge at the guy. It's like who's gonna win during this? It just feels like you get the other guy's laid out instantly the minute he charges towards him, and punch in the face, boom. It's like the old high ground logic. Like I have the high ground. You never. It's anyway. So let's talk about the. Here's the real meat and potatoes. Here's for all the monies. The ending.
Oh yeah, I mean that was definitely just all the ambiguity of it. Like, does she wake up? Did it work? Did she take it? Like, why did she take it? You know?
Yes. So Anna, she's essentially taking. She finds Erasaway, and again, I got to tell you, Zach has become more and more stupid to me the more I think about this because Zach just had it under the bed. He didn't keep it anywhere special. Just kept it under the bed. Really? So, the point is, she finds the Erasaway under the bed. She looks into it, learns the instructions and everything. Implicitly, she has the intent to use this thing to forget Joey. I mean, that's how I read it. Did you read it that way?
Yes, I think because what happened with Joey kind of sparked back, like, it basically opened an old wound, you know what I mean?
Because for a moment, I guess if I'm remembering this correctly, remember if I remember this correctly, he was either we saw Crystal driving, and then we were kind of flashing back to the moment where Anna she went to visit she went to visit Joey, and basically she had the Crystal kind of clipped her wings, and they had their big kind of fall, and basically it was like kind of the last hope that Anna had to save the relationship and maybe work past things and just maybe like give him another chance, hear him out. And of course, Crystal sabotaged it. And basically, I think her thinking back to that is her having a moment of change where no, I'm. It's too painful. I can't do it. And even if he has legitimately lost his memories, I assume that she was. I thought she was going to put it all together with the erase away.
Well, I mean,
And
that's the thing. I think she did, but I think what you were just about to get to is she did put it together, but even with the erase away, it's just everything was so painful and she couldn't really stand to live with it. So the erase away then ultimately became her solution.
exactly, which is tragic and something that was set. I thought this was set up well. I love. Okay, so essentially, she takes the erase away. And we have the real, very well edited sequence. So this and just in general, like, all the memory stuff, and you have like the flashes of memory. All of that was very supremely edited. And our big editing kind of showcase towards the end here is Joey enters the house, and you think he's going to get the girl, and then of course he's as he makes his way to the bedroom. You see the flashes in reverse order of Joey and Anna's relationship as it's going backwards, and basically as each memory is supposedly being deleted for both characters, as he's remembering them and she's forgetting them, which is really a brilliant idea in the edit bay. As he gets closer and closer, he gets more desperate and desperate, like kind of like each memory fading away. It brings home what was cemented in the bar scene. It was felt a little on the nose in the bar scene, but this is where it earns its merit here, where it's the Romeo and Juliet idea, where basically where Joey and Anna were like Romeo and Juliet, and they kind of referred to themselves a little as such. And it was very well executed. However, again, just with the leaps that we made in the story, I'm not sure at the end of the day if it's earned. It's well communicated, and I get what they're going for. It's like, okay, Romeo and Juliet, and we end it like Romeo and Juliet, essentially. But, no one's dead. It's a memory version of Romeo and Juliet. And I'm gonna wager to say this. I think what gets us this ending, and the only knock I really have against the ending is, again, of course, the whole big conspiracy element of it all. I think Joshua Thomas got boxed in like as a young filmmaker feeling his oats. I feel Joshua Thomas realized he was boxed into a non-conventional ending, where he fell into the trap of, okay, it's going to be the happy ending. It's going to be, he gets to the girl, or if she forgets, then we're going to have like a Wall-E reboot moment, where basically, it's like the kiss that kind of brings Wall-E's memories back. It's going to be something that's going to undo the ending. So he ended it the only way that you could and have an interesting ending to go out on, which would be, okay, we don't give anyone basically we ended the Nolan way. We ended like the whole, what happened? I need closure, basically that way.
And Dragon, like I said, just go and read the comments, and like I'd say a good half of the comments, if not more, are something regarding the ending.
Like, the romantic in me would like to think, but it's my own headcanon, like what you can, by all means, tell me what you think happens after she wakes up here. I'd like to think, the romantic in me would like to think that they get to fall in love all over again. Like, she's a blank slate, and he knows how important she is, and they can fall in love all over again, and it'll be great. That's what I'd like to think happens.
Honestly, that's kind of how I read the ending too, Dragon.
Yeah. And like, again, if you want to read into reasons why, again, if it's basically, you could read in she took it to forget the pain, or she took it to forget the pain, and so that she could start over, that she could, like, she has faith that because she's wearing the ring, and I think she's wearing the ring because she wants to fall in love with him all over again. Otherwise, why is she wearing the ring? That's what I think. That's what I think the proof in the pudding is at the end of the day. I think she took it so she could forget all of this conspiracy stuff, forget all of this, like, all the heartbreak, and get rid of that pain that really haunted her throughout the movie. So I'm convinced that's the intention is.
Nice. All right.
Up to interpretation, though. Okay, so final thoughts, I suppose.
Yeah, final thoughts. I mean, as we said, folks, I think we had a very level-headed discussion here on kind of like the highs and lows of amateur filmmaking. This film certainly isn't perfect, not by a long shot, but it is ambitious, and above all else, it is very respectable. It's a very commendable effort, and it's interesting to see all the stepping stones that kind of led to the Just Giggle It that we know and love. And also, like I said, just given the personal circumstances going on in my life right now, maybe hit a little too close to home for me. I mean, it really got the inside out tissues going a little bit, Dragon.
Even as a young buck, Joshua Thomas is making Tiki cry, and it's beautiful.
Right?
Yeah. So, as for me, final thoughts. It's not The Room for Joshua Thomas, but it is.
Honestly, I don't say this in a bad way, but I'd compare it more to Dancing It's On than The Room.
No, but seriously, though,
Dancing It's On is just a very conventional, sickly sweet love story with some really bizarre elements in it.
But while it's not The Room, it does have that disaster artist flair to it, doesn't it? Where, again, it is like you can see the meta contextual thing throughout this thing of, okay, so basically Joshua Thomas, reeling from his breakup is what motivates this movie in getting made. And perhaps, and again, if you want to look at it in kind of a meta way of any, I guess it's kind of like a get out of jail free card. This kind of the like he was young Mulligan, or was he truly brilliant here? Where he basically any inconsistency in the movie, you could look at it as that's Joshua Thomas's kind of heart over head mindset at that time. For all we know, we don't know. I'm just saying that's kind of the meta contextual. That's a guy really from a breakup in the making of the movie, like how in The Room, it's about kind of like a man's friendship with Greg Sestero. That's kind of what that movie's about.
Sure.
I'm just saying, if you look at it that respect, again, it's not The Room, but it might be a disaster artist. I don't know. So, at the end of the day, it's to assuage Joshua Thomas's fears. It's not The Room, but it is a passion project that shows grit and it shows spirit. It's the building blocks building blocks of success are here. It doesn't come together for me at the end. Again, I think that's that big the conspiracy reveal and again certain issues and premise. I think hurt the movie, but again there's something definitely here. And I think if you're into the genre, if you're tapped into kind of the emotional kind of side of things, basically if you can watch this almost like a Lifetime movie, perhaps, like if you can watch this and just kind of be basically if you can forgive those issues and premise, I think if you're kind of like dialed into this sort of thing more, I think you're going to like it a lot more than kind of just someone who might need to be sold on this sort of thing. But I want to make this clear. I said this in the comments. I don't know how long it's going to be up there. We're going to assume the video goes elsewhere. But I'm just going to say it for posterity here. This is going to sound corny, and you would put this up on his birthday, and I still mean this. I'm proud of Joshua Thomas for making a movie. I really, at the end of the day, I'm proud of him for making a movie, for trying his hand at making a movie. Because again, we've seen him do sketches and then do Harley Quinn, the Joke was the Real World, watching all these great diverse projects, and Just Giggle, it's a different sketch. Like almost every. You'll find a sketch that's like a channel full of snowflakes that make you laugh. That's essentially what Just Giggle is. It's like it's a different flavor each time, but it's a different flavor, like the best cereal ever created. It's I'm just so proud of him for making this movie. He took a chance and maybe it didn't land, but it was his first effort. And even taking that out of the equation, success or failure, we learn from failure. There are missteps in this movie, but by the same token, I'm just so proud that he took the leap. And it kind of makes, and again, at the end of the day, it makes me appreciate all the great quality stuff we have about Just Giggle, and even more so. And that wasn't even possible because we appreciate that. We love those videos so much, and this makes you appreciate how far he's come along. Hence the time capsule comparison here, folks. Because again, it just shows you like, oh, there's where that idea came from, and that's kind of what we have. Years later, going into that, and again, it's all getting figured out in this thing. So it's a great archival piece. It's a great historical piece for Joshua Thomas, the filmmaker. And I think it's something to celebrate, not condemn, but at the end of the day, celebrate. So again, it's top marks of Joshua Thomas, the filmmaker. Yes.
All right, so let's see, Dragon. Let's go down the checklist of what we covered recently on the grab bag. So last week was a devastating take on a main character's father dying in front of her eyes. This was an enlightening but somber take on relationships when I'm in the middle of a depressive episode regarding relationships. So next episode, Dragon, we're going to return to Taylor. We're going to return to watching you, and it's going to be a Taylor-centric episode. And in the words of Bubsy Bobcat, what could possibly go wrong? All right. Thanks for watching the Just Giggle It Grab Bag, everyone, and we'll see you later.